Christ, not Antichrist. What say you? And he hasn't answered.
Right.
Preterism.
He says the Gospels were not written by any apostles.
I mean, these are some wild speculations.
My sources are the Gospels, just read them. They tell you they are not eyewitnesses, thus making them not eyewitnesses. Being deceived by false teaching is not the same as being a false teacher. And lastly, just because the church fathers were closer in time to the New Testament writings does not mean all of their opinions about the New Testament is correct.
Well, that's true.
I totally agree. But his thing is about scholars. He didn't answer that one. I said, you do not care what the church fathers say, but you care about what your scholars dating your books. And you'll believe all that. So the Gospels were not written by any apostles.
You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Again, the timing doesn't matter. And what the person's name is who wrote it doesn't matter.
I realize that.
Well, look at it this way. All right. So if you look at Mark, at the very beginning, it says, the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God, as it is written in Isaiah the prophet. So they're actually going through Old Testament that was already written, proving that this is the manifestation of what the Old Testament was showing. So it doesn't really matter when the Gospels were written.
Right.
But the church, do you think the church didn't know the gospel when we've got Paul saying the truth that you heard before, and do these things? So what were they knowing before if it was not the gospel? And my understanding is that early disciples, when they were brought into the church, the first thing they were commissioned to is memorizing the gospel. And that was most likely an oral version of Mark called Proto-Mark. And that's the reason why Mark is the shortest gospel. And it boom, 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 boom. It's just all the acts that Jesus had done. And so they memorized that. And so because it was a lot easier to have someone memorize something than to hire a scribe to write on expensive manuscripts and things like that. So, I mean, they did do that eventually. But at first, the thing spread so rapidly. What did they do? They said, Christ is the Messiah. This one who came, whose name was Jesus of Nazareth. He was the Messiah that the Old Testament was talking about. That is the gospel. And so that's what the first century church was under the understanding and impression of when Paul was writing these epistles. They already knew the gospel.
I would definitely have to agree. I mean, this stuff is orally already gone around, and then it was penned later.
But now look at it this way also. The epistles, they were written down on parchment, and they were sent to churches by messengers. So, and then they were copied over and sent over elsewhere. So there was no need to memorize the epistles, but they certainly memorized the Gospels, or a oral version of the gospel. And then from there, then when it started to get written down, it got wrote into Mark, and then the writer of Luke and the writer of Matthew came. But then John is not a synoptic gospel, but John leans heavily. It's pretty clear John was written by a Jew. There's all that Old Testament, and Isaiah 6 and John chapter 12 is a clear example that this individual knew the scripture very, very well, most likely from the school of, a priestly caste or from a Pharisee point of view, because he knew the scripture really well. But he saw Christ as Jesus as the Messiah. But the other gospels, there's not a lot of interpretation there. Like John has a great deal of interpretation. In the synoptic gospels, it's really, the acts of Jesus, what he did, what he said, with very little interpretation. And isn't that exactly how an uneducated Galilean would record things? They'd be very sparse on interpretation wise. But when you go to the Gospel of John, you see a lot of interpretation. So that's more of a scholarly gospel. Someone who is educated wrote that one.
So this guy says he's not a dispensationalist. It's interesting.
Well, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a
Yeah,
duck.
exactly. You said it better than I could.
It's actually a goose.
He's just playing word games.
You teach a heresy, but you're not a heretic.
Yeah, that was the first thing that caught my attention. He was like,
Mine too.
starts off by the video says preterism is heresy, but then 2 seconds into the video he says, I want to start off by saying I don't think that preterists are heretics.
They're
And then,
just stupid.
And then 30 seconds later he's like, it's just heresy.
Maybe we can just chalk it up to youth.
It's like, what are you doing? Triple contradiction.
Yeah.
But I figured, the only reason I was saying maybe invite him, not that he would come, but it's because he only has 10 subscribers. Like, I have more subscribers than him. It's like, bro, come over here. We'll teach you a thing or two, and you might get more subscribers. He's got all these videos, but they all have 6 views, 4 views. Getting thumbs down.
Yeah, I'd have to listen to him for a while to actually understand what he believes. I thought it was
there's a little,
pinpoint.
yeah, he's got little quick videos on there that are only 2 minutes long. I think I listened to 3 of them. One of them was Revelation is not written by John. One of them is, I don't remember what they all are.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys are all real chatty tonight. Would you stay up too late the other night, Zach? Can't cut her?
That was pretty late. And I woke up literally 2 hours later.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. My son woke up. And he was like,
Oh.
Yep. He's like, I went poop. And I'm like, oh, sweet.
That's great, son.
I know. But, it was good. God sustained me. So I was, wrestling and playing around.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, sometimes it is a little too late.
I think it's worse when you go to work the next day.
Yeah. I thought it was good, though. I mean, the conversation was flowing pretty nicely, so I was like, you know what? I might as well just stay.
Who said it was 6 hours long?
The video is 6.5 hours recorded.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I wasn't there, so I didn't know. No, it was funny because I was here with Dan chilling, and you guys were still going. I checked on it. I was like 2 o'clock. There's no way these guys are still going. So
Yeah.
I go down and you guys are still going. I was like, hey. Come back at like 3:25. I'm like, there's absolutely no way that these guys are
Still there.
They're
We're
still there.
almost there.
Like, jeez Louise.
I'm pretty
How
sure we
long-
got off at that time, like
How
3.
long were you guys on for?
No,
I
it
think
was
I left at
4:30.
about 2.
It was 4:30.
Oh,
No, it wasn't
No,
4:30.
No, I think it
Yes,
was.
it was. Yes,
I
it
was sleeping at 4.
Yeah, it could have went that long. I mean, it went really late. Like,
Yeah, it was like 3:30.
Mhm. Yeah, because it was 12:30 my time.
Yeah, because I went to bed and I was so riled up anyways, and I sat there tossing and turning for 30 minutes. And then my son woke up at like freaking 5:55, and I was like, geez, not even 2 hours. Just about 2 hours, but I was like, all right. Wasn't the first time. I did contemplate maybe for like 5 minutes I should just stay up because I felt pretty good. But I was like, man, if I stayed up the whole night, I know around like 10, 12 o'clock, I'm going to be crashing.
Actually, if you keep moving, you won't crash. It's only like when you sit down after 5 minutes, then you'll certainly crash. So the
Just keep
secret
running
is
around.
keep moving. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So it was funny the other day. Somebody had posted, because I still follow all those Hebrew Roots Facebook pages and stuff. So they said, "Do you celebrate your children's birthdays? Do you bring them to their friends' birthday parties?" And some people were talking about like blowing out birthday candles. Like they said, making a wish and blowing out candles. It's believed that the smoke from the candles of the cakes, honoring Artemis, carrying prayers to the gods. So they're like saying like blowing out a candle is like some pagan worship. And I'm like, what did I say here? I said,
Well, going to the bathroom is pagan also.
no, something really funny like that. I'm like, did you guys know pagans drink water during their worship service to their false deities? So somebody just commented saying, what did they say? They said, "Are you a true truth seeker? Are you here to cater to the lukewarm-hearted? Are you bringing division? Please remember, Scripture says you will give an account to every idle word you speak. Scripture is also clear that we are not to participate in the worship of false gods. Which of God's commandments are you choosing to disregard? I would caution you against creating a God to suit yourself. God
Wow.
is not at all indifferent to the way we choose to live our lives. Shalom."
You know,
How are you
some
going to respond to that?
Some people, even when you look at world history, even in the Old Testament, some people like to worship a very vengeful and evil God. And in worshiping that vengeful, evil God, somehow they'll get a small amount of favor so that when this evil, wicked God destroys others, it won't destroy them. So they feel comfortable worshiping an evil, vindictive God. And it sounds like that's what this individual is, wanting to worship.
Yeah, so I just said, I follow God. I'm just trying to have people think about their positions. If you think about most things we do, it can all be said to be linked to some sort of worship to some false god.
Don't you think that even in the Old Testament, that when they worshipped a pagan god, they were at least aware they were worshiping a god?
I would say it's to them, yes.
Yes. They might not have known it was a pagan god or whatever, but
Well,
they knew they were worshiping a god.
I would say that it was nothing, but that's that's a
Mm-hmm.
different topic on that one. Because to them, yes, in their own eyes, they would think that, because even it says in like Hosea, like they went off to Baal and they were worshiping, giving him thanks for the rain and all this stuff, not realizing it wasn't Baal that gave, or it wasn't these false gods that gave you anything. It was me.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that, you're talking to this statue, thinking that's what gives you the rain and your blessings, but in reality, it's only me. I'm the one that makes it rain, not, the rain god, which they thought, the Mayans would sacrifice every single day. They would kill somebody, rip somebody's heart out, so the sun would come back up the next day. Because again,
So,
like the most worshipped thing was the sun.
So when you're worshiping a false god, is it because you don't know the God, don't truly know the God that you're worshiping? Does that make sense?
I mean, I do really feel that there is worship is ingrained into the human like nature. It is just like we worship something. Like it's just there in our human nature to worship. And you either worship God or you worship something else.
Could be money, could be
It
whatever.
could be anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just ingrained into our nature. It's like in our DNA to worship. So when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, I would agree with that. And and then when you look at the old covenant, you have all these people worshiping all these false gods, but then you look in the New Testament and Paul's saying, hey, there is no such thing as these false gods. We're the only, the true knowledge is to know that there is only one God.
There were no nations in the Old Testament that were atheist nations.
Yeah.
Well, I think even atheists worship something.
Yeah. Of course. They have a faith in man, in the naturalistic,
Humanism.
Humanism, the universe. That's what their God is. They, the book of Romans talks about, they worship the creation instead of the creator,
Uh-huh.
It's like, you think about it, it's like people want to be like, oh, you see that shooting star? We should make a wish. Instead of, praising the one that created the shooting star. So that's how I kind of see that. And so that's kind of like what, the world is today. And like, I was really getting, I have a younger brother. He's the middle child, I guess you could say. So we've always just, for the last few years, we always just debated about everything. And we were talking about evolution, and he believes in a creator, but it's nothing like the Bible. I think you can call it like deism or something like that. Something where it's like you would have like a supreme being that created, but he can care. He is not involved. He cares less. Like he doesn't even think about the creation. I forget the terminology for it, but when we started talking about like if you take the both positions, like the humanistic worldview and then the Christian worldview or the theist worldview, like there's both faith. We would all agree that there's faith, that we have faith that there is a creator and he created everything and his word is true. But if you ask the humanistic, Darwinist, evolutionist person, do you have faith? They would say, no, we have evidence. But from the outside looking in, we would say that, no, that's faith, because if you take all their scientific theories, you can't apply the scientific theory to any of this evolution stuff. So it's not even real science. So it's faith. You're having faith that these hypotheses that you can't test actually are going to give you the answer that you're thinking that it's going to give you.
For one thing, is that humankind, like what Zach had said, that it's ingrained in there for worship. It's also like ingrained in there because if you look at, all right, so everyone searches for a beginning. Even the atheists search for a beginning. All the nations with all of their gods have stories of a beginning. And that's ingrained in us too, because if we were just, in evolution, right, and you're here and you observe this tree, but your father also knew about trees, and his father also knew about trees, then there's no logical way that you would say, well, when was there no trees? So our desire and search for a beginning is ingrained in us as well. In other words, because if it was just natural man, then there'd be no reason for natural man to think that there was a time before natural man was ever here. That would just say natural man has always been forever. Did that make sense?
Kind of.
So even the atheists search for a beginning. And I think they got that from their religious streak.
Yeah, it's all just, religion is not, you have to have like a, well, if you think about it, I was going to say they don't have like a sacred text, but they do.
They do.
It's their scholars, which
And
disagree on
the thing
everything.
is also is that, like for atheists, for instance, they worship science and they worship, scholars, but then they don't realize that within the scientific community, they're having debates and stuff, and there are different views, and they don't understand the history of science. They just take science for gospel, basically, and say, well, these people here are smarter than I am, and this is what they say is going on, without looking at the history of how people were stealing things from one another, how they were debating and silencing an opposing view and things like that.
Where you learn the most, though, when you have two conflicting ideas and then you hash it out in a friendly manner.
Right. You don't try to silence the opposing view.
Yeah, you try and work it out.
That makes your position sound weak, because
Yeah.
you need to silence the other individual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's better to work together to both figure out what exactly is going on in this verse, or why is it saying this, or goes a lot smoother too. You don't waste all your time being like, "You're an idiot." Like, I've had my fair share of those. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's why debating is, I think it's pretty nice. And for me, it's definitely, you get both positions. You can, logically, if you can hopefully logically follow.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like the debates too, but I think sometimes just like a general conversation is more beneficial than a debate, because the debates can get a little, convoluted, like whoever's like being the referee or whatever, moderator.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely try to be a better speaker or something, and then.
Hi, Troy.
Yeah. Hey, Troy.
He has to use device audio. I don't know if somebody told him, but he can't hear until he does that.
He's
Sometimes it can be
connecting.
confusing.
What's happening, Troy?
He can't hear you until he connects. Just like he can't say anything. So somebody has to tell him, I'm not.
Can you hear me?
So Lori, Adam Jordan Clark answered me finally.
What did he say?
Well, he didn't answer the question. He wrote a big paragraph and didn't answer the question.
Oh, did he?
But you can go on and...
Can you read your comment again and then read his response for me?
I wrote... First I wrote, I was dispensational for 20 years. I realized it was totally false 6 years ago. Let's chat, brother. So he wrote, hey, man, yeah, dispensational is pretty bad. I'm sure you have some real horror stories to tell. LOL. Did you ever have rapture practice?
What is that?
Practicing the rapture. I said, no rapture practice, but a whole lot of Bible misunderstanding. He shall confirm a covenant for 1:7 is Christ, not Antichrist. What say you? So he wrote, yeah, so dispensationalists primarily, he doesn't even write correct, so primarily rely on Daniel for their interpretation of the New Testament. I'm not a dispensationalist, so I don't do this. I actually don't think much of Daniel relates directly to the New Testament. I know this seems a bit weird, but there is good reason to think this is possible. Yes, it is true. Jesus quoted from Daniel, but does that mean he thought Daniel's prophecy continued through him? My answer, as of now, is that Jesus viewed himself as a prophet who would usher in the kingdom of God. Think more of the request for the historical Jesus here, in his lifetime instead of a future lifetime. Also, we can't be sure as to how Jesus interpreted Daniel either. He certainly quoted Daniel, but that doesn't tell us how he interpreted the book. It could be that Jesus thought of Daniel allegorically and quoted him that way, or maybe he interpreted Daniel literally and expected the prophecies in Daniel to occur in his lifetime. Frankly, I don't think anyone knows, but my reading of Mark's gospel leads me to think that Jesus thought the kingdom of God would physically and literally come in his lifetime, or at the very least, its author thought that. Mark 9:11. So I replied just now, it's not about relying on Daniel. It's simply taking it into account, especially since dispensationalists based their eschatology on it. The kingdom Jesus was ushering in was redefined by him. It certainly was not what they thought it would be. Did they think it was like a mustard seed that would grow into a great tree, or a dragnet that would catch all manner of fish until the end where they are separated, or a wedding in which the original guests are invited yet refuse to come so that those from the highways and byways are then invited? Way to not answer the question, though. Daniel is scripture, right? Who is the he in Daniel 9:27, and what covenant was confirmed?
Good luck with that. Did Troy make it in?
Yeah, I think he got his audio sorted out. He's there now, but
Hi, Troy.
maybe he still didn't figure out how to use the
His mic's not showing up at all.
no. Might have to figure out how to set up his audio. It's different for everybody. I don't know. Rob's the master.
Yeah, I don't know. Where's Rob?
He was here for like 4 seconds and then left again.
Oh,
Rob doesn't sound so great tonight. I hope he's okay.
yeah. Said he had a rough day. Must be that heaven on earth thing.
Uh-huh.
You know, the perfect life we're all expecting.
Yeah, watch out. No paper cuts. No stubbing your toe.
Exactly.
No falling downstairs and breaking your neck. Like, stairs will not exist. And
I want to get me one of them wheelchairs. They have to have little wheels on the back, though.
I wonder, like, so wait, does that mean that hot peppers are going to lose their heat? That would be a bummer because no more Carolina Reapers, I guess.
I mean, those things are too spicy.
Too spicy? What do you mean too spicy?
I only like banana peppers.
I like those too. But I do like
That's as far as I
spicy.
go. I don't mind
do
the odd
like-
jalapeno, but
Yeah, jalapenos, cayennes, things like that are nice. But a
Would you-
Carolina Reaper?
You consider the heat on that evil?
The devil. That's the devil's popcorn. Did you know that?
Oh, that's a good one.
Popcorn sacrificed to idols.
So
It's bacon
another
popcorn.
another random question. Did you guys ever get that ice cream?
I did.
Oh, I haven't looked for it yet, but I will.
And what did
You'll
you
go
think of
broke.
it?
You'll go broke eating that ice cream.
Yeah, it's
What ice
expensive.
cream?
Oh my gosh.
It's
What is
called Rebel.
What's it made from?
It's made from human baby's milk.
You're sick.
Sacrifice to idols.
It actually tastes like ice cream that I've made before. When you take some coconut milk in a can and you turn it upside down and put it in the refrigerator, and the fat separates from the water, and the fat will raise up to the top when it's upside down. So when you take it back out of the refrigerator after the day, you turn it right side up, open the can up, and you can pour out the liquid. Then you just got the pure coconut fat, and you put that in your Vitamix, and you put in some ice cubes, flavor, different things like that. It tastes almost exactly like ice cream that I've made before. It was kind of dry, which is like a high-fat ice cream would be. Um,
Did you let it sit out for a little bit like it's recommended?
yeah, they said let it sit out for 5 minutes. I mean, I
No,
was eating on
they
it for
said
longer than
15.
5 minutes. So
I let it sit out for like 30 minutes. And then it's really creamy.
Oh, you're on keto again. I forgot about that.
Yep.
No matter, what was it you always eat? Jerry's? No.
Bluebell.
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 Yeah, that's the thing.
Sounds kind of like Lou Bell.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
You're the owner? Can you send me like...
Uh,
Oh, Albert, I want to tell you your cash is on the way.
I know. No, thank you.
Smart ass.
I'm curious to see which kind of bills you send it in.
I sent 2 2s and a 1 and a 10 and a 5.
Nice.
So
2 2s.
yeah, we don't make them anymore.
Yeah, they definitely don't make 2s.
No, or 1s.
Or 1s, okay.
Yeah, so they're old bills. I don't know what my brother gets them from the bank all the time.
Nice.
Those people bring them in. So it took me like 2 weeks to get them from him.
Well, wait.
Is that your mic, Lori? That's like creating all kinds of disturbance.
Is it? I don't know.
Somebody's mic is definitely raging hard.
Is it mine?
Probably.
Somebody else talk and then see if it cuts in.
Sounds like you're walking or something.
No. Still, Matthew?
It stopped.
I don't know.
I wonder why. Yo, Troy.
He's connecting again. I don't know. I don't know if he knows how to figure out the audio, how to connect.
Yeah, usually it's pretty.
Or if
Every
he has a
time.
microphone, it's always a nightmare every time a new person.
Oh, they also make cereal that's keto.
Yeah. There's dudes who made like millions
no,
of.
I didn't. What is it made out of? Cauliflower or what?
No.
I mean, I don't know what it's made out of, but they got here and they keep messaging me too because I look at their stuff and they're like, "Oh, hey Zach, oh hey, we saw you going on our website." It looks pretty dank though, but it's expensive. So you got one. It's one flavor, 12 bags, $30. They got a chocolate one, a fruity cinnamon bun, peanut butter, and berries.
What's it called? What's the brand?
It is called the Cereal School.
Okay, because I have a chocolate cereal that's very good, and I have a chocolate granola. It's made solely from nuts. It's really good. Put almond milk in it.
What's the macros in it?
I have to go get it.
I'll tell you this one. These macros are. It is 3 grams of fat, and counting the carbs, minusing the fiber, is 0 carbohydrates. 16 grams of protein. So kind of high on the protein, but.
Give me a rundown on the ingredients in it.
Yeah, I'll look at it right now. So it is milk. Milk protein isolate, peanut flavor, high oleic sunflower oil, peanut oil, tapioca, fiber, salt, and then monk fruit.
Peanuts are not
That
really
oleic
keto.
oil doesn't sound too good.
Peanuts are not keto.
I mean, they're
It's
saying
peanut flavor, so wouldn't that just be an artificial peanut flavor?
Well, it would say artificial peanut flavor if it was artificial.
But natural flavoring is artificial flavoring.
Actually, sorry, I was reading you the peanut butter one. So the cocoa one is milk protein, isolate high oleic, sunflower oil, cacao, and then it says processed with alkalia, ALKALI. I'm not sure what that is. Alkalia, whatever. And then monk fruit. I've heard monk fruit. What is monk fruit?
It's It's like stevia. It's like an artificial sweetener. Well, a natural sweetener. I'm sorry.
And then vanilla bean, salt, and then natural flavor, whatever that means.
We don't have any granola. Are we supposed to get that?
Granola is not keto.
But I will tell you this, that macaroni and cheese that I made today was probably the greatest keto food I ever had in my life.
That's good. Would you?
That looked really good, Zach.
Dude, it is so dang.
Was the noodles made from mushrooms or
No, it's cauliflower.
cauliflower? Okay.
Yes, you just boil some cauliflower for like 4 to 5 minutes, and then you take a sauce, like the same pan that you boil the water in. You put 4 ounces of cream cheese, a third cup of heavy whipping cream, and then you add in. I wish I could add cayenne pepper, but my family doesn't like spice. But I put salt, pepper.
Nutritional yeast.
No, I put mustard powder, but nutritional yeast would probably be nice
That make
too.
it taste like real cheese.
Yeah, I mean, but I put real cheese in there as well. But and then I put salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, and then, like I said, I wish I could put the cayenne pepper, but and then you melt all the cream cheese until it's a nice thick, like, deliciousness, and then you throw the cauliflower back in there and just mix it up, and then you throw 2 cups of sharp cheddar cheese that I had shredded up myself, and then just melted that, and then I threw in I cooked 4 strips of bacon. I chopped that up.
Oh, man.
That sounds delicious.
Do you have a recipe you could
I'll send you the video. I'll send.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
I gotta
actually,
make
before I
that.
forget. I'm telling you, dude. It was. I wish. I really think the cayenne pepper would bring it up a notch, though, for sure. So if you like spice, I don't know.
You
If
could always do
like
that
spice.
afterwards. Put a
Yeah, I know.
So listen to this one, Zach. I don't really make a lot of fat bombs, but I made something a little while ago that kind of by accident. I was craving some peanut butter, and Stacy's right. Peanuts are not really keto, but they're not the worst thing either.
Eat it a little bit, like a little handful. I mean,
so listen to what I did. I took some of Justin's peanut butter, which is totally natural, put it in a little bowl, and then I squirted MCT oil in there and stirred it up till it was totally mixed up, and it got like a little bit loose, But then I poured heavy cream in it and stirred it up again, and the heavy cream literally made it get thick again, like where you could almost not stir it anymore. Then I took little spoonfuls of it, put it on parchment paper, stuck it in the freezer, like little bite size.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they are addicting. Just pop
Those
them
sound
out.
good.
It's cold and it doesn't stick to the roof of your mouth anymore, like just straight peanut butter does.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not the hugest fan of peanut butter. I mean, to be honest, I will say with this ice cream, my sweet tooth would be satisfied with this.
Good.
I mean, I want to get I honestly didn't like the cookies and cream. I guess the texture of the actual cookie pieces, because it's made, I think, with almond flour, it's kind of like gritty.
It
So
was
every time
crunchy,
you would eat,
really crunchy. I was like, that's a nice chocolate cookie to have. I could.
I liked it in the beginning, but once you eat like half of it, I was just like, okay, I'm done. And I really think the mint one, I think that one or the chocolate one. So those are the next two I'm gonna get. I'm not gonna get the cookie stuff.
The coffee one tasted really good.
Yeah. The vanilla, dude, that one was, dude, it tastes
I didn't have.
just like McDonald's vanilla ice cream, I swear to God. I literally ate it the first time and I was like, wow, this tastes like McDonald's ice cream. And then I looked on, like, watched another video, and that's what the lady said too. I was like, wow, that's so funny. But I did just post that cauliflower mac and cheese on the
All right, cool.
it's super quick and easy, man. It was so good with that steak that I made. But I would recommend more bacon. I feel like the ratio that they, 4 strips of bacon and all that cauliflower didn't, I would say at least 6 strips of bacon. But I did message, or not message, but Troy, he said, I guess, all right, never mind. Albert had gave him some advice. Because I said, could you hear? And he said, no. One thing though, how I have this second monitor that I've tried for 100 years to set a second monitor up, and I started using my TV. Dude, the TV is like 1,000 degrees. I think something's wrong with it. If I put my hand on it, it is probably like gotta be in the hundreds. It is so warm.
Does it have a vent in the back?
I don't know.
It might be covered up with a lot of dust.
Probably. It's just the screen is so hot, man. I'm like, geez, I'm like burning up here.
You may want to unplug it at night.
I turn off my computer every time I don't use it, so it's not like it's on at all. It's just like right when it turns on, it's just like kind of not like sweating, but I'm like, geez. And then I touch my real computer screen, and it's super cold to the touch, and I'm like, dang.
Yeah, LED lights are cool. So I don't know what kind of light source your TV has.
I think I got it in like 2011. I bought this TV specifically for Skyrim.
Is it a flat screen?
Yeah. I mean, it's not super flat. It's a Samsung 32-inch something. Like I said, I got it in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Bought a Black Friday 2011. Because Skyrim came out on 11/11/11.
So you were using your Xbox for that then, right?
No, was it a PlayStation? I don't know. I think it was a PlayStation.
No.
I forget. But it was funny because I was using, those big fat TVs. And with those video games, you really can't see everything because you need the, more resolution, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I gotta get a real TV. Sat at Walmart for like 5 hours. Oh, and another thing, I did see this keto bread. Dude, this bread looks so good. It's called what is it? I guess Sola, SOLA bread. And they have this one that's a sweet and buttery. I mean, when you look at the picture, it looks like you're looking at freaking white bread.
I've never really found a good keto bread that wasn't really dry and the best keto bread that I've ever had was the one that I made, when we made those hamburgers.
Yeah.
It was basically, I made some waffle batter and put it in a waffle iron and made 2 waffles, and that was the bun, and that was moist, but most of the keto bread is really dry.
This dry. I mean, yeah, this bread kind of looks on the dry side, but it says it's sweet and buttery, so I would imagine it's like a little softer. I mean, I guess it does say it's 3 grams of net carbs. I wonder if that's per slice. I would probably imagine.
That would be per slice.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if it was just, 2 slices. That'd be the greatest thing ever.
What are you trying to do for your carbs, your daily carbs? How much are you trying to say?
I mean, I don't really count them too much. I mean, I just know, like, I don't eat breakfast, and then my lunch is, like, today I had a nice little salad with 2 hard-boiled eggs, a pickle. I forgot to shred some cheese in there, but I also had, I think I posted a picture of these Parmesan crisps. I don't know if I did, but
you did.
Yeah, those things are dank too, man. They're like the crunchiest chips, but it's like more crunchy because it's literally just Parmesan cheese, like baked. It's literally all
I've had
it
a
is.
couple of different brands of those.
Yeah, so and that one's like a jalapeno flavor, not really spicy at all, but maybe like out of like 20 of them, there'd be one that kind of had a little nice flavor to it. But so I had some of that. So that has like, I think 9 grams of fat per serving or whatever. So I ate, some of those. And
How is Elizabeth liking the new diet?
She's probably had a little bit worse than me, but because she's also breastfeeding, so a lot of the women that we watched on the internet, they say they need to up their carbs. So she's eating probably like 50 carbs a day, or maybe like 60, but she's still producing ketones. It's just that because she's producing, like a cup of milk every like hour, pretty much. So the body's like constantly producing this milk. So that's what a lot of, keto moms that are breastfeeding recommended. And then they also did say that their breast milk did deplete in like the quantity of it, but they feel like the fat has just increased a lot more. So it's a more like richer, dense, fatty milk for the baby.
Well, also ketosis acts on the body as a diuretic. In other words, your body doesn't hold water that much.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have enough water to produce a lot of milk volume. And so the milk is probably thick. But so when you're on keto, you've got to drink lots and lots of water.
Yeah. I normally tend to drink more water at work than home. Like, I don't know, at work, I just like, I'm really adamant to just like, okay, it's an hour, drink another bottle.
I don't normally drink bottled, fancy water, but I was thirsty the other day and I got some Voss water from Norway.
Right.
Man, that was delicious.
No, I drink Berkey water. I think that's the best water I've ever had.
I don't know what Berkey is.
It's a water filter called
Okay.
Berkey.
Everybody was raving about Fiji water, and so I bought Fiji water today, and I didn't care for it. It wasn't.
But isn't Voss in the glass?
Yes.
That probably helps.
Yeah, that's a high roller water bottle. That's what I used to wash my feet with. I take showers and that stuff. No, actually, it's funny. I got this cool stuff in the mail for my upcoming class. I'm taking a biology class, so they sent me some blood testing and some type of vial of other serum and stuff with these strips and these blue goggles and stuff.
Huh.
I guess I'll be doing some like biology stuff. It's about the human body.
Biology was my major.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you. So yeah, they got like a couple of vials of like synthetic blood. Let me just open it.
That's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
for the lab portion of your biology, because
Yeah.
biology comes with a class portion and a lab portion. So
It's funny because, you know, I'm online, but it's still, they're like, oh, I still gotta do it, I guess.
just a little hint. You want to go through the instructions for your lab portion until you know them really well before you start opening things up and doing
True.
it, because you make a
Just
mistake.
contaminated it. This will definitely not be my major.
Well, there's a lot of memorization that you're going to have to,
I'm gonna just call you up and be like, yo,
but your exams are basically open book since you're doing it on the internet anyway. So you probably won't have a
but I
problem.
have my wife too. She's, you know, she's a nurse, so
Right, right.
especially like this biology class is literally like the human body, so she knows all about that stuff.
Pretty sure that atrocious mic is you.
Well, that part was opening up a bag. And that noise too. And that. How about this? You hear me? This is that ASMR stuff.
Yeah. Stuff is ridiculous.
Do you hear me now? I wonder what's going on with Troy.
He can't either. Well, he either doesn't want to. No, he said he couldn't hear. So, like that means his. I think he just needs to set up his stuff. That or he's just there and not talking. But I don't see him having a microphone. Maybe he figured out how to listen, but he's still not talking. I don't know.
Well, that's fine. I mean, we'd like to hear from him, but on his own time.
Yeah, at least he got on. That was pretty cool.
I don't see Zach's mic either though. When I click on his name.
It's because I don't have a mic. I'm just, you know, you're a figment of imagination. I'm not even here.
You're just talking into your speaker.
I have a microphone.
Can't see my mic either.
Let's see. All right.
Or does it only show?
You can see your name.
It only
there.
shows up when you're muted.
Yeah. It only
Right.
shows up muted, but I'm talking like when I looked in the settings, like under like all of what I can see, like you can look at it too, but like if you go to the participants, it doesn't have a microphone there. I think his mic is just not set up, or he hasn't gone into the settings and chosen set up microphone or set up audio device or whatever.
Maybe ask him for his phone number, and you can maybe call him and talk him through it. Or you can like FaceTime or.
Yeah, no. I don't have FaceTime. I have
whatever.
a Samsung Galaxy, very crappy model.
Skype.
Yeah, I don't like Skype, and I don't have it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I mean, there is Discord. I mean, I tried to tell him what to do, but I don't know. Rob is usually the master, like, fix all your audio issues.
My son won $1,000 in the lottery yesterday.
Dang. Not bad.
But he probably spent $2,000.
On lottery tickets.
Yeah, I
Man, it
don't think so.
sucks. I actually did read this thing. It was talking about it. I think the Powerball's at like 236 million or something like that. And they were like, if you want it, like they go through like each section of like how much Uncle Sam takes from you. So out of that like 230 million, you walk away with like less than 100 million. But that's still pretty awesome.
Ours is still tax free.
Listen, they give me 200 million, I'll let them take, 100 million. Yeah, I was just looking at Facebook because I wanted to see if people were commenting on it, but then I was looking at the feed, and I have to send this to you guys. Let's see if it actually works though. Let's see. Oh, look at that image I just sent
Where'd you put it?
on health. It looks like a cheeseburger, but the bun is like a pepperoni pizza.
Oh, that looks disgusting.
That pizza actually looks pretty good. Oh, God. Talk about keto.
Are beets keto?
I think those might be too sweet.
What are you asking?
Beets.
No.
Yeah, those are probably too sweet.
Basically, anything that grows below the ground has got way too much sugar in it. Not to
Except
say
for
that you can't
radish.
have it, but you need to eat it very sparingly.
Mm.
Yeah, because if you eat too much of that, then you're already over your carbs for the day. I mean, theoretically, you could not eat all day and eat like 2 servings of Pringles, and you'd be fine on your macros and carbs. But that's not,
But
healthy.
potatoes, onions, beets, all the things carrots, those things that grow below the ground, they're pretty much loaded with sugar. And so you want to be careful with that. Whereas if you eat things above the ground like spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, things like that, you're more safe.
Yeah, that's why asparagus, broccoli, yeah, those are really good.
Asparagus roots grow deep, so they're loaded with minerals.
Oh,
That's
really?
why your pee-pee smells so funny.
It was weird. The other day, I bought some organic asparagus, and I guess I really look for when I look for asparagus the thickness. I like really thick asparagus.
Oh,
Mhm.
really? I like it the opposite.
Oh wow, yeah, I like it when it's thick. So I'm looking at because I guess at Walmart they had a whole bunch like laying out, so I didn't really see the top of it, but I was just saw like the bottom root part, and I was like, oh, this one's the thickest. I just put it in my bag, come home, put it in the fridge. The next day I take it out to clean it, and then I'm gonna eat it, and like the tips of it were so slimy. And I would go and rinse it off, and the whole tip and like an inch downward just fell off. And I was like, what in the heck? I've never seen this before.
You got to
Yeah,
be
that's too old,
Yeah,
too
yeah,
long.
I know. That's
you
why I
got to be
Googled.
careful buying produce or meat from Walmart.
Yeah, no, the problem was I was just concentrating on the thickness because I usually I look at everything. I mean, I know how to shop for a lot of, meat and vegetation, but for some reason with the asparagus, I just was just like thickness, thickness. Oh, found it, put it in the thing. But I was upset because I was thinking that day, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have some delicious asparagus. And what do you guys think about that? Those wildfires in Australia?
I hadn't heard anything about them.
Apparently, like I'm looking at a map of it right now. It's like pretty much almost the whole entire place is on fire. I mean, this
The
is a
whole
pic.
continent?
Look, this is from your buddies on NASA. Yeah, where is it? Discord. I don't know. I'll put this on the flat Earth, I guess. Shape of the Earth.
Those are Rob's buddies.
Yeah, not ours.
I mean, this is apparently a picture from NASA, so
Never a straight answer.
you guys be the judge of that one. But I've seen on Facebook they have a GoFundMe, and they're at like $30 million.
Australia has?
Yeah, it's like supporting the fires. Like apparently, like 1 billion animals have been killed.
Oh,
I mean,
really? Did they count the billion dead bodies?
Yeah, they did actually. Yeah,
Exact numbers on these
yeah,
reports.
they did. So right
I
now they're
knew
at 1,000,000,003.
that they counted every single last one, including those little insects that got incinerated into nothing.
Yep.
They count those too.
That's why it's such a high number. They killed a bunch of ant farms.
It's like, yeah, well, that was 5 trillion ants right there. So like, that's all right.
Yeah, looks like the whole coast is on fire, eh?
Yeah. I mean, but I'm pretty sure it is pretty bad. But I mean, I don't know if it's that bad. I don't know.
I don't know what to think about this picture.
Photoshopped. Well, it has to be.
Can you see God's name written like on the turtle?
Yeah, totally.
That's NASA's picture?
That's what I saw on Facebook. It said from NASA.
Well, how come the map that I just looked at doesn't show any fires in the interior?
How come you can't see any cities or anything like that?
I don't know.
What a freaking...
Greatest heist ever.
Jeez.
Yeah, they're all saying like pray for Australia. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some pretty bad fires. I mean,
Yeah, well, I guess, I don't know. I don't think anything's go extinct though, like the kangaroos are going to be okay. Somebody will live. Yeah, like it can only go so far. I don't think it's going to. You think it's going to you can burn up all of that's this the beginning of the end times? It's going to burn up all of Australia, and then next is the next continent is going to get burned up, right? And Antarctica is going to get burned up.
I mean, it is down under, so maybe that's what talks about going down to the earth. They went down under.
So yeah, biblically speaking, where does that put us?
Matthew chapter 24.
Ah, where it all began. Matthew 24. Yeah, one of those videos did say, one of the ones I recently, the Michael ones, it did say the thing that I said the other day, where the Olivet Discourse is pretty much what Revelation is saying. John is saying in Revelation is the Olivet Discourse in his interpretation.
Yeah, so you're saying John's Olivet Discourse is Revelation.
Yes.
Agreed.
Not if it was written in 90 AD.
True. And I would agree. I would say that is, if Revelation was written in 90, then yeah, full preterism is false.
What? Yeah, no, that would be pretty dumb if it was written after. It's like, why? Why would you write it with such
That's
vivid
their holy
imagery.
grail. That's what they want to attack the most, because
Yeah.
that would be the nail in the coffin. There'd only be that one necessary.
Yeah. It's like, no, it was definitely written before. Like, come on. The temple was still there.
It's talking about the future temple.
Plus, I mean, it does say everybody's always making the, like, you know how, like, it's like, I don't know. I just think, like, when everybody repeats something to you, it's like, I'm more likely to believe that, like, whatever they're repeating to me constantly is false. So, like, they're always telling you that, like, I don't know where I was going with that, but certain things are going to happen. Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
Well, if the Jews missed the first coming, then why would the Christians think that they would be any better concerning the second coming?
I've heard you say that before. I think I heard somebody else say that, but yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Say that again, Stacey.
If the Jews missed the first coming, why would the Christians think that they could be any better, and that they would not miss the second coming?
I wonder how many actual Jews, so to speak, whatever they are actually waiting for a Messiah.
Today, yeah.
I
Today.
imagine religious Jews.
Yeah, those are good.
How
dudes.
many are there?
Well, there's different sects of religious Jews, because some of them say the Messiah failed, therefore it's the nation itself that's now the Messiah. And then you've got others that say, oh no, we will get a godly king to come back. So you've got, different camps.
I wonder how many there are, though.
I think they say there's like 13 million Jews in the world or something like that.
That's not more than the sand of the sea. There's probably a lot, though. I would say there's probably a fair portion.
Yeah. I mean
cool.
religious Jews.
You what?
I mean religious Jews. I wonder how
Yeah.
many there are.
Ones who actually truly believe what we, like, kind of what we believe?
Mm-hmm.
Probably zero.
Not what we believe in, but
Like 4, if you're lucky.
You've got Orthodox Jews that say being a Jew is a race, and you've got other Orthodox Jews that say no, it's not. You've got some Orthodox Jews saying you've got to, go into Israel and support Israel, live there. You've got others that said no, God has scattered us and God has not brought us back together again. Therefore, we can't go into Jerusalem or Israel. So I mean, it's like all over the place, really.
I'm looking at this one website, it's saying 14.7. What's crazy is you go down to Miami, there's places where it's just Jewish people. So you're like, there's got to be a million of them down here.
Well, we
Yeah,
have
it's funny
that.
that 40% of
Yeah.
Harvard is
Okay,
Jewish.
all right. So let me run this by you. Okay, I used to watch The Golden Girls. You familiar with that show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this supposedly, even though it's in California, or I guess no, actually in Miami, or where was that? I saw that somewhere, the front of their house. But anyway, so the story goes that they're in Miami, and there's this one story where Dorothy is invited by another friend, not one of the Golden Girls, to go into a special club. This club, there were no Jews allowed. Now, I've never encountered a place where no Jews were allowed. So is this just, propaganda, or are there actually places in Miami like that?
No idea. I mean, when it comes to Miami, I don't really hang out down there. Besides Miami Springs, where my mother-in-law lives.
Because it sounded like the whole entire episode was just to play on sympathy. Well, how dare they not allow Jews to come in? But I've never heard of a place in real life that was like that.
Yeah, if it was, let me know where it is so I can go.
Uh-huh.
Discriminative, I want 50 million. No, I mean, there's places in Miami where it just seems like there's just so many of them. And even where I'm at, too, there's like so many Jews. There's a lot of synagogues. So it's like when you look at this 14 million population, I think that's false.
I know one guy that he was a Christian. He was Jewish, but he got offered a free place to stay, free property, and a job for him in Israel. But he had to renounce Christianity, and on top of that, he had to pull down his pants and show his peepee to the rabbis to make sure he was circumcised.
Gotta
Okay.
do what you gotta do.
We have tons of places in New York where it's all Jews, and you see them. There's different sects, and some of them wear just all black. Some of them wear this very, very tall black hat.
Yeah, it's like a Russian thing or
Most of them
something.
have the curly Qs coming down.
Hasidic Jews, isn't that what they're called? Hasidic?
I'm not sure. I know the ones that wear all black, those are definitely Orthodox people.
Mm-hmm.
I like listening to some of the rabbis when they're talking about the Old Testament things, but I've noticed even then they're actually misquoting Psalms, even if you're following it by the Masoretic text, misquoting Proverbs. It's almost like they're just making stuff up when they're talking about it because it's not actually in the scripture itself.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really remember speaking to too many Jewish people. I mean, there's Jewish people in my family. Like I have one, my cousin married some guy that I guess he's kind of grew up pretty religious. Like his uncle's really, into the, religion and stuff. I've spoken to my cousin's husband, but he still doesn't really, know too much. Like I remember I go to my uncle's house on Yom Kippur when they break the fast. And there's not one mention of God whatsoever. I mean, nothing. It's just
Hashem,
Happy New Year.
Hashem, nothing.
Nothing. There's not one mention. And so I'm always like, oh, so like I think I did this like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I was talking to him about uh like this day. I mean, this day has to do with like sacrifices, and I'm like, why, if Moses was so adamant talking about these sacrifices that had to be done, what gives the right for us today not to do these things?
That's the Jewish conundrum today.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, I don't know. I gotta talk to my uncle, or yeah, his uncle. And they got back to me, just quoted some stuff about like, oh, Daniel, he was righteous and stuff, and he didn't have a temple to sacrifice at. And, right now we're in exile just like Daniel. So they go to Daniel for that for the most part. And show like, that, they were in Babylon, but they were doing the best they could.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not in Babylon anymore. They have the land. What are they doing? They've had it for 40 years or more than that. What, 19? When did the six day war end or something? I don't know. It's not like this.
Wasn't that in the 60s?
Yeah. So I mean, that's well over 40 years. I mean, that's a long time. They should have. I mean, what are they waiting for? But
I invited that guy to Bible study. What's his name? The 3 named guy.
Adam.
Oh, I've been going back and forth with him while you guys are talking.
Oh, have you?
Oh, yeah, you should definitely invite him. That'd be funny if both of you invited him, and then he'd be like, "Wait,
He won't recognize me because I'm contemplate when I comment.
I said, invited him. And he says, I love a good Bible study, but I can't tonight. I have a bunch of work to do, and it's already really late.
yeah, but he doesn't have to come to this tonight. He can
I know, I
join
told him that.
this."
I'll hit him up again. I just told him we were friendly, that we wouldn't dogpile.
You lied.
We won't.
No, you guys are pretty graceful if you need to be.
You idiot.
Yeah, we used to all be futurists back in the olden days.
That is true.
I don't know what he is, though. If he's not a dispensationalist, he's not a preterist, not a full partial.
Yeah,
What else could he be?
No, I really like to find those. See, it's a rare gem. I don't know what it is that they believe, but I don't know. I didn't know what Firefly believed fully, but pretty interesting conversation.
She would be considered a partial, eh? Wouldn't you say?
I don't know. Maybe Zach can answer that.
You know,
she's on the air.
I didn't listen
what
to
I'm
him
gathering
too much.
from Firefly. She definitely is a partial preterist with the added idea that that God has been dealing with that land over there for the last 2,000 years. I think she has this element of dispensationalism she just can't lose. But I think with enough, conversing, she'll be able to get rid of that.
It takes time to wrap your mind around all these elements.
Yeah, she's figuring it out.
She's definitely interested.
Mm-hmm. That's always a good sign.
Yeah, I would say our discussion the other night was pretty good.
Did you guys keep talking about the same thing after I left, or did you bring something else up?
She just asked questions like, what was it? Like Isaiah 2 about beating their their whatever swords into plowshares.
Talked about
Things
Micah.
like that.
I remember.
Malachi 4.
Mm-hmm.
We kept going on that one. I forget the other stuff. I thought it was pretty good. I think she was kind of understanding more.
Y'all were talking about Paul being the 13th or one of the 12.
That was earlier, but yeah.
Did we talk about that?
A little
I remember
bit.
talking about that.
I think so.
Where do you stand on that, Zach?
Paul said 300. No, he's definitely not the 12th. That's for sure. And like I had brought up before, there's other apostles. I mean, Barnabas is an apostle. So at the top of my head, I can count 14 apostles. With Paul not being included in the 12.
I concur on that.
So Jesus sends out the 12 or the 11, and they're considered apostles, but then they, at the church, send out sent ones, and they're also apostles. They've been given the authority of the church. So Stephen was an example. Even though he was, Philip.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about that?
Barnabas and Paul. What?
What about the apostles The 12 being all Galileans.
Well, the only one that was not a Galilean was Judas. He was a Judean.
Right. But who was,
But that was just of those 12.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Lazarus was a disciple, but he was from Bethany.
But Lazarus isn't one of the 12.
No, you're right.
Do you think that Jeremiah 6:1 speaks to that at all? Or is that being taken out of context? What do you think?
Jeremiah what?
6:1.
I mean, I would imagine this has something to do with the destruction of Jerusalem. Not 70 AD, though.
You don't think that's 70 AD?
No. Maybe you can glean some of the language that's applied to 70 AD, but I mean, this had an actual context.
It just seems like everything is foreshadowed, though, too, as well. It seems to, a lot of it plays out the same.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same, like that same language like is used, that, you know, Jesus uses that same language in Matthew chapter 24, the abomination that lays desolation, you know, that was spoken already previously in, you know, Daniel. You know, he just alludes to that same, like, heaven and earth will be wiped away and like all this will be shaken and stuff like that. That language is used all throughout Isaiah, and Moses says it. So it's like, it's just the Hebrew, you know, idioms, I guess you could say. It's like they, I guess, use the same language.
Well, wasn't there a certain tribe that really was around Galilee that were Galilean?
I mean, I know Judah and Benjamin, they were, I guess, or those were the two tribes that were in the south. And then you have the 10 tribes in the north.
We had, what did you have separating Judah and, wasn't Samaria separating Judah and the Benjamites?
No, Benjamin and Judah were just, you know, in the, you know, when you look at the whole thing, you know, once the kingdoms were divided, especially during the time of when Jeremiah wrote that, you know, I would imagine they were mixed. Because it says in, what is it, 1 Kings 12, I think? When it's talking about the splitting of the kingdom, it mentions, you know, Judah and Benjamin in the south, and then the other tribes are in the north.
Verse 16 is interesting in Jeremiah 6.
Is it?
Thus says the Lord God, stand by the roads and look, and ask for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it. And the Christians were known as people of the way.
Yeah, I know. I think that's also alluded to in the. I forget where exactly. It's in the New Testament for sure. I want to say the Sermon on the Mount somewhere. I could be wrong.
I think Troy might have figured it out. See a microphone muted.
Yeah, I do.
You there, Troy?
He's muted, but whatever. He can maybe, hopefully, at least hear now. Maybe somebody can ask him if now he can hear.
Oh yeah, I do see those little microphone pop up.
Now he just has to unmute himself. And usually you have to hit like use device audio. I don't know what the issue is though.
You should usually say that like right when you sign on, though.
He just unmuted himself for a second and then muted back.
Yeah, well, maybe he figured it out.
Maybe he doesn't want to talk to you guys.
Yeah, that's probably more like it, right?
Yeah, he came on. and
That's
he's
most
just like,
likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, getting closer to the truth here. I don't know. I'm excited. Lately, we've been like, I think pretty much all of us have been learning something new, or at least hearing something new, and being like, what?
I just need to find more time for a private, like personal one-on-one reading.
Right.
Even when I have time, I don't seem to utilize it, you know? Something always seems to distract me. Well, do you guys want to read Ezekiel? At least one chapter?
I love to get through Ezekiel. I want to get to 28
So would I.
like nobody's business.
I know you. I would imagine you would want to get to chapter 28.
But also 26, 27, 28, 29. Like,
What are we on?
Well, let's see. I think last time we did 14, but then we did 4, so I think that's us at 19, I think.
All right, let's do it. Who wants to read it?
Did you say 19?
I think so, right? Because we did 14 to 18, I think.
Okay. I'll read ESV.
Sounds good.
You should do the VSE.
The what?
VSE.
The very standard version? I could do the ISV.
Nah, just read the
Something
Hebrew.
really wild.
Yeah, read Hebrew.
What about the world? What's it called? The world translation. See what that one says.
the Watchtower Society.
I don't have that one. DRC.
Nah, just use ESV.
Okay. All right, here it goes. And you take up this lamentation for the princes of Israel and say, what was your mother? A lioness. Among lions she crouched. In the midst of the young lions she reared her cubs. As she brought up one of her cubs, he became a young lion. He learned to catch prey. He devoured men. The nations heard about him. He was caught in their pit, and they brought him with hooks to the land of Egypt. When she saw that she waited in vain, that her hope was lost, she took another of her cubs and made him a young lion. He prowled among the lions. He became a young lion, and he learned to catch prey. He devoured men. and seized their widows. He laid waste their cities, and the land was appalled, and all who were in it at the sound of his roaring. Then the nations set against him from provinces from on every side. They spread their net over him. He was taken in their pit. With hooks they put him in a cage and brought him to the king of Babylon. They brought him into custody, that his voice should be no more heard on the mountains of Israel. The mother was like a vine in the vineyard planted by the water, fruitful and full of branches by reason of abundant water. Its strong stems became rulers, scepters. It towered aloft among the thick boughs. It was seen in its height with the mass of its branches. But the vine was plucked up in fury, cast down to the ground. The east wind dried up its fruit. They were stripped off and withered. As for its strong stem, fire consumed it. Now it is planted in the wilderness, in a dry and thirsty land. The fire has gone out from the stem of its shoots, has consumed its fruit, so that there remains in it no strong stem, no scepter for ruling. This is a lamentation, and has become a lamentation. I think this is about the local king of that time.
No, it's about the devil, Babylon, the king.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It totally says, as a little pre-thing here in my lovely 1611, I'm going to tell you what the synopsis is all about. It was 19, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah, it says, a lamentation for the princes of Israel.
Yes, I agree.
Under the parable of lions' whelps taken in a pit.
I agree.
And for Jerusalem, under the parable of a wasted vine.
I think they got it right.
Nice. It was hard to read that because, wasted. I mean, so these words. Cause and all. Watch out for those
cause and all, right. Watch out for those causes.
So that guy texted me back. He says, I told him that we were pretty polite and stuff. And he goes, I get beat up in the comments a lot on YouTube. So I think I'm pretty used to it by now. Haha. What do you guys study?
Everything under the sun.
Oh my gosh.
Preterism.
Anything and everything. You want to bring it, we'll talk about it. As long as it's biblically related, right? But yeah, I mean, if either one of you, Matthew or whatever, get him to join the Discord alone, and like that, then he can decide if he wants to come on here. I mean, like, you can always listen to us beforehand, but the most best is if he joins the Discord first, because then he could get to know through the text, and if he wants to join the voice, he can.
I just we talk about everything and anything you bring it, and we discuss it. We are pretty open-minded.
You should post a link to your YouTube channel, Albert, so that he can see some of the videos as well.
Well, I don't want to. If they're both talking to him already, I don't want to triple bombard him
because he'll think, yeah.
Right, but I mean, from now on, you should post.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely my channel, the Codename Lumiere channel. Yeah.
I'd rather invite. I don't know how to invite him to the Discord though.
In fact,
at the top of the Discord.
Can I post it on this channel?
Yeah, you just copy the link. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let Stacy go ahead.
To create some extra work for you, because I love to do that, you should post in the general Hangout when you've uploaded a recent video and provide the link.
Me? Oh,
Yes.
dear. Okay. All right. I'll consider. You'll post it where? In the
general chat.
In the general chat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to do this, Albert.
Okay, so if you're on the Discord at the top, there's the whole thing. The whole server's name is called Bible talks or
Talks.
whatever, right? There
Yeah.
should be like a drop-down menu there.
Okay,
And there
got
it
it.
says invite people.
Got it.
Remember, you just copy that link to invite the person, give it to them. It only lasts 24 hours, so
Copy. Gotcha.
easy peasy Japanesey. Nothing against Japanese people. I love Japanese people. I love Japan. Samurais are awesome. Sushi is awesome.
It's pretty racist.
No racism. I'm not racist. We all came from Noah. We all came from Adam. Yeah. That's all I got. Right, like cats. Like, are you racist against cats? You got white cats, black
Does
cats.
this sound right?
Let's find out.
We are pretty open-minded. We have a Bible discussion board in Discord, so you can join there and see what we discuss.
Sure.
And if you're comfortable, then you can join.
It's going to be funny because if he listens to this video as the first video that he listens to from the channel, that'll be hilarious. Because it's about him.
Yeah, I don't really want to give him the link to that.
No. I'm probably not gonna post it for like a day.
Matthew, what did Matthew say? The guy's a freaking nut job.
The guy's an idiot.
Ah!
Oh, that's funny.
No, I forgot about that.
I guess we got to be more careful when we're recording, right?
But you know, this is how you.
The question is, where are we recording when that was?
I don't think we were
Yeah.
at the
Oh,
time.
maybe not.
Oh yeah, that was totally.
But
recorded.
now we are. Now we're talking.
Totally gonna hear that.
Edit.
Oh, that's funny.
Beep.
No beeping. I don't beep things out. I don't cut them out. I don't edit them. I'm not an editor. I just post them as they are. It makes for a better story, right? Yeah. Then we're more consistent.
When we say idiot, we really mean like brilliant scholar.
There you go. It's code words. See?
The wise fool, the sophomore.
No, my favorite is like, clearly you're mistaken. You made a mistake here somewhere. You have an error.
I haven't heard you do your English voice in a while. You got to say that in that one.
It only happens when you can't put me on the spot like that.
It's got to be right. All right. I'll wait for it.
Yeah. Not enough beers yet. I mean, you're talking like Ali G. You want me to do Ali G or something?
Shouldn't you be drinking tea if you're going to do a English accent?
Are you trying to get me on it, are you?
And that was a bit of Cockney in that one.
Yeah, so about these verses that we just read, what about these verses? What is going on?
I don't know.
What do you mean you know what's going on? Look, it says some pretty good stuff here. 19. I found it very nice. It said right here, it said something about the east wind, but it dried up her fruit. Interesting. And now she is planted in the wilderness in a dry and thirsty ground. That's desert, dry, thirsty, no water. They will have no rain. Right?
Zach kind of got me confused, and I would say, because he would say that this is a local time, and so I guess that's correct.
But this is metaphorical. Like, this is saying that the people are the ones that are. They're
Go on.
the ones that are
Finish
all
your
the
thought
stuff.
there.
Me? Stacy?
Well, if it's a lamentation, which is exactly what it is there any precedent showing before where you're going to take a lamentation of things that are not even going to happen in your generation? You're going to lament for people 400 years in the future?
Yeah, that doesn't really
I
make
don't
too
think
much
so.
sense.
No.
Does they usually lament after or before?
It's after.
So this would be for what?
Well, this is a lament. Take up this lament because this is what's fixing to happen to you, soon about to take place. And I think that was the kings being hauled off. One was hauled off with hooks in his nose. One king was uh, blinded, but before he was blinded, the whoever it was that said, "I want the last thing that you see is for your son to be slain," and slain him in front of his eyes, and then blinded him. So that was the last thing he saw.
Nice. Anything else?
Well, I will tell you that 20 is very long. 20 is 49 verses. Ouch. 19 is only 14 verses. Once.
But my son just woke up, so I gotta go. Yeah.
I used to hate that.
What?
You hear, you're just relaxing and just calming down, and the kids are in bed, and you're just feeling, and all of a sudden you hear, and you get this feeling in your gut like, no, not now.
I know. But he wants me, so I'm gonna go in there.
Okay,
All right,
chat at you
guys.
later.
Night.
Yeah.
Night.
See you
Thanks for the
guys.
prayers.
Right?
Yeah, definitely, bro. All right, much love, everybody.
Bye.
Night.
That's so
I wanna
nice.
sign out of this thing.
I thought he was faking it just to get out of the 49 verses.
Probably scared
Well,
you to make him read.
I gotta go, yeah.
So who wants to read it? I want to get this over with so we can actually study something I'm into.
What are you into? We can put the Ezekiel. We did one Ezekiel. We can go on to whatever you want. Like, it's fine. It's new rules.
New rules.
New rules. Like
It's like playing games with my kids, huh?
When we were studying Joshua, and part of it was like getting nowhere, we stopped it and moved to something else. I mean, we could do that with Ezekiel if you want.
No, we don't have to, but maybe one night this and one night that.
We have.
Well, I mean, like, right now that you can totally just like, what is it that is like, go for it right now. Like, just get. What's the topic?
Doesn't really have to be so much of a topic. Maybe.
Well, we did a really good job.
One of the things.
I really enjoyed what we did with Corinthians the other
We
night.
really did a good job on 2 Corinthians chapter 5 the other night. I like that one.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay. Well,
Get verse by verse.
the other night.
Is there a book that you guys want to go through? Like a short book?
Filet mignon. No, we already did that one time. Philemon? No, that's like the shortest one, right? It's like one page. Filet mignon? No.
Filet mignon?
Yeah.
Filet mignon?
No, it's Philemon.
Filet mignon.
Yeah. Mignon. Mignon.
Probably the two that I'm least familiar with would be the Thessalonians.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Thessalonians. I'm into it. Matthew, you still awake over there? In New York City?
Yes,
Are you awake,
what are we doing?
Matthew Thessalonica? Well,
Where are we going?
First Thessalonians.
Oh my gosh.
go to Thessalonica.
Does that sound?
This.
Who's Silvanus?
Well, there's two more apostles there, right? Silvanus.
What's
with me.
Silvana?
But I don't think the argument that there's many more apostles has anything to do with whether Paul is considered a 12th or a 13th or none of it.
Number one. No, I don't think so either.
The way I look at it is the 12 is kind of representative. It's thematic. Of course, there's a lot more,
Mhm.
but the 12 are like the representative of the 12 tribes, the remnant,
Yeah.
saved, even though there's more.
Yeah.
And I lump Paul in there with that, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I'll read chapter 1 if you want. It's just 14 verses, so
Okay.
10 verses actually.
10 verses. Yep.
So what do we know about this book?
We're doing First Thessalonians or second.
First,
Okay. What do we know about this book?
Yeah, what do we know about it? Anything?
Well, I know it's a book. It's got pages, but I got words on it.
we might be able to figure it out through its context.
I would hope so.
It's obviously, it started out as a letter to the church of the Thessalonians.
Specifically to the Thessalonians as a church, right?
That's
Or
right.
something like that. So,
But
because
then,
like
you know,
their
were copies
errors
all
were
over
not
that.
the same errors of other churches, right? Each one, like there was like a whole summary somewhere where it said like, oh, like some of y'all are doing good, some of y'all are not doing good.
That's right. But they
You
were,
are doing good. Like I like you for this, this, and that, but like I got something against you on this one.
but they were copied and sent to all the other churches too. So they got them, but they were not the original intended recipient.
Right.
Wikipedia says likely written in 52 AD. However, some scholars believe the epistle to the Galatians may have been written at an earlier date, AD 48.
Either way, it's before 70. It's a win.
Time's getting close.
So how did they? Okay, never mind.
All right, so chapter 1. Paul, Silvanus, and Timothy to the church of the Thessalonians in God the Father and the Lord Jesus Christ, grace to you and peace. We give thanks to God always for all of you, constantly mentioning you in our prayers, remembering before our God and Father your work of faith and labor of love and steadfastness of hope in our Lord Jesus Christ. For we know, brothers loved by God, that he has chosen you, because our gospel came to you not only in word, but also in power and in the Holy Spirit and with full conviction. You know what kind of men we proved to be among you for your sake. And you became imitators of us and of the Lord, for you received the word in much affliction with the joy of the Holy Spirit, so that you became an example to all the believers in Macedonia and in Achaia. For not only has the word of the Lord sounded forth from you in Macedonia and Achaia, but your faith in God has gone forth everywhere, so that we need not say anything. For they themselves report concerning us the kind of reception we had among you, and how you turned to God from idols to serve the living true God, and to wait for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from the dead, Jesus, who delivers us from the wrath to come. Well, here Paul is saying the Thessalonian church is chosen.
Yeah, I see. That's where it's useful to know that other verse where it tells you all the churches and like what he's got against each one of them. Like which
I
one
think
looked like.
if I memory serves me correctly, after I started reading it, I think it was the Thessalonian church and the church of Philippi that sort of supported Paul in his missionary journey greatly without even really having to be asked.
Right. Yeah, there was some. There was like at least one or two that were like really good, and then like some
And I
were
think it
iffy,
was
and then there was like one or two that were like kind of.
So now, if this was written in 52 AD, what does this mean? And to wait for his son from heaven.
Well, first of all, I would go with a later dating of Thessalonians, maybe in the 60s. And the reason being is because the news of their service went throughout the whole area, if that makes sense. Because they had
So
already,
what point does it, what do you have there? Why are you saying that? What do you mean?
because it's clear in chapter 1 that the Thessalonian church has already built up a reputation. And that's not something that happens overnight.
But it would have been how many years?
Where in Acts does Paul visit the Thessalonians? Because this would be after that visit.
Are these are Israelites as well, aren't they? Jews?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Anybody out there?
And I don't know if there was a patron god to Thessalonica like there was to Athens and Corinth, you know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it says they turned from idols, but even the Jews had idols, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay, Google. What was the patron god of Thessalonica?
According to Wikipedia, Corinth chose Poseidon, lord of the sea, as their city-state patron god. The patron god of Thebes was Apollo and Dionysus, also called Bacchus and Eochos.
did you say Corinth?
No, yeah, Corinth. So
Yeah.
it didn't. Okay, Google. What gods did the Thessalonians worship?
According to Shmoop, as far as religion goes, ancient Thessalonians mostly worshipped various Greek, Roman, and Egyptian gods. Paul says that the group he's writing to turned to God from idols, which means they were probably Gentiles who loved them some idol worship.
Okay, well, that's a good point. That because it was idols, and the Jews really were against idols. Really, I mean, they had their own idols, but they weren't perceived to be idols as such.
Mm-hmm.
Did she say loved them some idol worship?
Yes, she did.
I thought about that, and I'm like,
Some
no.
slang there.
Really up on the language there.
Love me some idol worship there. That is funny.
So you've got the greeting, and then you've got the proclamation of their reputation and thanksgiving for that. And I don't see any other topics. Is there something I'm missing in chapter 1?
So if they were chosen,
Yeah, what does that mean?
Matthew, you got any input there?
It sounds to me that they were chosen to be reputable, but that's, just looking at the text.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it means, even if Calvinism were true, I don't think that's what he's saying. That, you were individually chosen to be the church at Thessalonica. It just sounds like, you know,
The corporate
the
Thessalonian
corporate, your
was
area was
chosen.
chosen. Yeah, it was preached with power.
And the funny thing is that they're pretty strong, and it mentions that they did this within affliction, great affliction.
Yeah. In the next chapter, it mentions, you who believe. It gets a little bit more specific.
Read that number 4. For we know, brothers, loved by God, that he has chosen you, because our gospel came to you, not only in word, but also in power and in the Holy Spirit and with full conviction. So it sounds like saying we know that God chose you. You're loved by God because you accepted our gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You shall know them by their fruits. It's like so obvious. It's like,
And most likely they were going to the Old Testament and seeing how these things were being fulfilled. Because I think that's how a lot of times the gospel was proclaimed in the early world, by saying, look, here are these prophecies, and then this prophecy has come true in Jesus of Nazareth.
Your faith in God has gone forth everywhere, so that we not need say anything.
Right. And it takes a couple of years to build up a reputation. So that's why I'm.
But if this was written, say, even if it was right in 52, when would it have started being preached there, I wonder? How long did it take?
Now, I don't know Paul's first missionary journey and his second missionary journey, if he went to Thessalonica twice or what.
And to wait for his Son from heaven, whom he raised from the dead, Jesus, who delivers us from the wrath to come.
That's one of the two salvations that I find in the New Testament.
yeah, see, the wrath to come to me is totally 70 AD fire.
I guess
Getting trapped in Jerusalem. If you're stuck in Jerusalem, you're not given the wrath to come. That's the second death. Like you get stuck there, you're doomed. However, you could escape.
I would label the two salvations as one is a local temporal salvation, which is from that fiery wrath, and the other one is the eternal.
Yeah. And which one do you say this is? The local?
The local.
Yeah. Okay. So now, I'm just trying to wrap my head around these dates that came up, with the writing of Matthew being in 80, 85.
Well, all right. So let's go back to where Paul is saying, the message that you heard from us. So what was he proclaiming? What was he saying? What is it that they held with such strong conviction?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, it's kind of rhetorical, but if you want to answer it, that's fine.
No, go ahead.
Because they were hearing the gospel, and so whether it was written or oral at the time, it really didn't matter. It was probably the oral one, but
Mm-hmm. So you guys are saying either way, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I just don't understand. If it was post 70 AD, why was it written in the manner it was written in? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
It wouldn't have been. I mean, it says from his coming wrath, and we obviously know that during the first century there was a coming wrath that was right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to say, well, it was written afterwards, it's because you can't fit that. You don't want to fit that coming wrath to be a local salvation. And so you're going to say, well, it was written afterwards, so that this is something that's 2,000 years or more in the future.
Hmm.
It's a poor argument.
Well, I'm just trying to wrap my head around, because Matthew said it doesn't matter either way when it was written. But to me,
No, no, no,
It
no,
doesn't
no.
matter.
No, no, no. It's not. When we're talking about the gospel according to Matthew, it didn't matter when it was written, because it's actually quoting what Jesus said in 33 AD. But as far as the Thessalonian thing is concerned, the epistle, if that's written afterwards, then that's like totally,
Yeah.
it wouldn't matter. It
No,
wouldn't.
this is way before.
no, I understand that. But
It
why
just
does I'm just trying to wrap my head around when he's saying that Matthew wasn't written until 80, 85 AD. You just don't read it that way. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, I mean, it really doesn't. It's irrelevant. It doesn't even matter.
Tell me why it's irrelevant. I don't think I'm grasping why.
That's what we just explained. Like, it was. It doesn't matter if Matthew was written, 15 years later or whatever. That's perfectly fine. It still doesn't change the basis of the story, which it's trying to convey. Which it's just, according to what they were going to say anyway, Matthew is just using Mark as a base source, and they say Mark was about 70 AD that it was written.
No, I get that. I get all that.
Let
But
me see if I can.
Let
Let me see if I can.
if I'm copying something because I believe it to be true, and I'm just like trying to help you out a little bit by maybe filling in some details, right? Like, are you going to be mad if I wrote it 10 years after the fact? It's like
well, I wouldn't understand it if you were writing it like it was happening in the present.
But it's the genre of the writing.
It's
Gotcha,
me
okay.
copying the story though.
The gospel.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, the gospels are literally accounts. It doesn't matter. Like, if somebody, let's say let's say Matthew was never written, and somebody found it and copied it today, just as a stupid example, you wouldn't say, well, it was just written. No, you would put it back
Right.
at the time that it's accounting for. But the Thessalonians is an epistle. It's instruction. So what he's telling them to do needs to be applied to your life in a certain way according to the time it was written. But what was written about Jesus and his ministry happened at the time it happened, no matter when it's written. There's a difference in writing.
Kind of like if.
But how do you? So
all right.
if Matthew 23 and 24 are written at 80 to 85 AD, then it's not really prophecy, right? It is just an account of what happened. See, in my head, I look at Matthew 23, 24 as prophecy.
It might have been orally given, probably, is what happened, and then they wrote it down after the fact so that us scrubs in the future could know.
It could still be. It's although it's after the fact and after all these things took place, they're writing it saying Jesus said these things, so it would be prophecy that had just been fulfilled. However, the writer of Matthew didn't choose to say, and these things had been fulfilled, if it was a very late date of Matthew. But it's kind of like writing in the present tense. So, for instance, Gone with the Wind is, let's just say Gone with the Wind was true, even though it's not. It's a novel. It's about the Civil War. But if you read Gone with the Wind, it's a moment, because it's putting you in that time. Even though Gone with the Wind was written in the 20th century, it's talking about something that was in the 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
But like Matthew said, the letter to the Thessalonians is a letter of instruction.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So one thing is if someone could look that up for me, I'd like the lifetime of the Thessalonian church. Does anyone know when it started and when it ceased?
What do you mean it ceased? When did it cease?
That's what I'd like to know.
never ceased, unless that was one of the
So it's there
candlesticks.
now? Is it there now?
Unless the candlestick was put out, I would say, yeah, it's. No, I don't know.
That particular church.
Well, I don't think the Thessalonian church is in this circuit of Asia Minor, which was where John was. I don't think it's not one of the seven churches, is it, in Revelation?
I don't know. I thought it was for some
I
reason.
mean, it might be,
Oh no,
but
it's the Laodicean and
the Laodiceans, the Ephesians, the Smyrnans, the Philadelphians, the Laodiceans, if I said that already.
Yeah, you got 4. It's not 7. 4 is not 7.
Gosh, I'm put on the spot here. It's late for me.
You put yourself on the spot. You were like, I'm going to
Okay,
name them.
Google. Who are the seven
I was
churches of
like,
Asia Minor?
you're not going to get them all.
According to Wikipedia, Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamon, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea.
Thyatira. Okay, yeah. So no, it's
Thyatira
not.
and
It's like,
Pergamum. Those were the two that I couldn't think of.
yeah, it wasn't. So you're right. There is no Thessalonica there.
Right. So when did I don't think what I'm saying is I don't think it was within that circuit. See, the book of Revelation was written to the churches in Asia Minor, and those were all the circuit
Right.
in that group.
Right.
it doesn't say here.
It doesn't say.
No. It does say they were chosen by God to be saved.
Well, I mean, not in the scripture itself. It wouldn't know because this would be, in
Yeah, no, I'm looking.
It's the Josephus problem. No, just kidding.
No.
Okay, Google. How long did the church of Thessalonica last?
I found these results.
She's not going to say it.
It does continue though. That was not the whole of Thessalonians. There's like more. There is no chapter 2. Let's put it that way. There's no chapter 2, there's no chapter 3, there's no chapter 4, there's no chapter 5. It's all just one letter, right? That'd be like if I gave you a birthday card and I said happy birthday, gave you some wishes, and then at the end signed it, and you'd break that into chapters. Like, why are you doing that?
Okay, it's in Acts 17.
In the city of Macedon in northern Greece, which today is the city of Thessalonica.
Thessalonica and
Thessalonica.
Macedonica. What did you say?
It says Macedon
Okay, Macedon. Yeah.
and Thessaloniki.
Yeah, Thessalonica or Thessalonica.
Ancient history.
Thessalonica.
Religious pluralism filled Thessalonica with all types of pagan cults, temples, and deities. Archaeological evidence indicates at least 25 gods were represented in heathen worship, including Zeus, Athena, Apollo, Artemis, Aphrodite, Dionysus, and the Roman emperor, to name a few. However, some Gentiles had become proselytes to Judaism and were known as God-fearers. Paul preaches to Thessalonica. In Acts 17. All right, so it says, then they traveled to Thessalonica, which is in Acts 17, verse 1, and proved to be where the Lord wanted them to evangelize. They started the church there between 50 and 51.
Started it between 50 and 51?
Yes.
Well, didn't take long to build that church up.
Well, if you're going by the early date.
Yeah. Well, Matthew went to bed.
It is that time for him.
I guess it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, good night, Troy.
Good night.
Hope you can get on next time.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, well, y'all guys have a blessed night.
yeah, it's that time. All right.
All right, good
We'll
night.
talk again. God bless.
Good. Peace, peace.
Mm-hmm.